Welcome to An Hour with a Manager, your go-to podcast platform where we share industry insights from the best experts, ranging from customer experience, human resources, and much more. Join us for an hour of informative discussions, practical advice, and inspiring stories from the world of management. Stay tuned.
All right, so like I said, everyone who's joining us, if you're joining us from Facebook, wherever you're joining us from, we have a link on Facebook, we have a link on X, we have a link on LinkedIn. Each of these links, you can stream it from any of your browsers. So if you don't want to stay on the platform, on any social media platform, you can just do copy and paste and just get yourself on any of those platforms. Maybe you could stay on your browser to stream this very conversation. And mind you, it's going to be very interactive. It's going to be very, very engaging. And it's going to be something you have to leave back for, probably to come back to watch again. All right. Good afternoon, good morning from everyone, wherever you're joining us from. And it's so good to be here today on another episode of An Hour with Your Manager podcast, live podcast. We've been in this for the past 1 year and 6 months. And gratefully, or thanks to God, we've been able to stay consistent despite the little errors we have, despite the forthcomings that we don't expect. But sometimes you get to understand that when you're on a journey to do big things, when on a journey to do something amazing, always expect probably equal ratio of the same negative energy to come. While you're pushing for positive 100%, I think maybe you should push for negative 150. Just bank on it in case anything happens. Just get your mind ready, so you don't feel heartbroken on last minute. Yeah. Okay, so but gratefully, at least you guys have always been here with us. You've always been staying glued to. You've always been there to support what we've been doing. You've always been there to stream, and because of how our conversation is engaging and informative, we've also had a couple of testimonies from those who have actually used what they've learned from An Hour with Manager podcast to implement in their office, implement in their business, and even land promotions and other opportunities yet to come. So please, while you're joining this conversation today, make sure to have your pen and paper down. Make sure to take note of the strategies, those key points that can be relevant for your business, for your personal brand, and for your personal development. Because here today we have a very wonderful guest who is going to share wonderful light into all that we've been doing, and she's also going to make the best out of this conversation and make it more engaging, make it more informative, and tell us those information that we need to know to get things down. So today I have here today with me Gladys Njoroge. Gladys, how are you doing today?
I'm very well, Matthew. Thank you for having me.
How are you feeling being your first live conversation? How do you feel today?
A little nervous, but I will manage.
All right, I'm sure you will. Okay, so
Yeah.
Gladys is from Kenya, and she's going to walk us through her journey, and we're all going to hear and see the amazing things she's been able to do for the past 15 years and still counting, because 15 years is only the ones we recorded, but we're also going to know about the ones we've never recorded, the things that's actually transpired to who she is and where she's been today. Like I said, please do well to share this conversation, do well to invite anyone you need to invite, share the link. Let's continue to learn and share valuable information together. Okay. So Gladys,
Yes.
just to get into this conversation, for the benefit of those who have actually not met you before, for the benefit of those who's meeting you for the first time, and even those who probably know you, maybe there are things that are still lagging behind that they might not really know about you. Please tell us about yourself.
Thank you so much, Matthew. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you're watching or listening from. My name is Gladys Njoroge from Nairobi, Kenya. A proud professional in the field of human resource and accounting. Starting from humble beginning, and I'm passionate about mentorship, because when I was getting into the professional world, or the corporate world as we call it, I didn't get the opportunity to get mentors on the way. So it was a murky road, bumpy, and I had to swim and fight a lot of fires. But here we are, and because we have suffered, we don't want anybody to suffer. We want to put the right wordings through so that you can prepare for the journey. It is doable, it's possible, Anybody can be a manager, anybody can be a leader. It requires the positive energy and the focus to be able to excel in corporate, whether as an employee or an owner of a business. I run two businesses, that is Right Resource Kenya Limited. It's a human resource firm where we provide recruitment, training, and outsource HR professionals to startups, SMEs, and established organizations. We also do HR advisory. And on the other hand, I run another company that is very dear to me. It was started out of the passion for mentorship of young girls. So it's called Orbit Line Events and Ushers. We provide event ushers, and I'm proud to say that I don't do it for money. I do it because I want girls to have something positive to do. Whenever we attend those conferences, they are part of the listening audience. When those great speakers are giving their speech and they have something to take home other than money. So I'm proud of having young people around me and changing a life every day of my life. So thank you so much, Matthew, for that.
Wow, that's a very beautiful journey so far. And when you mentioned something, I kind of connected with one part of the journey. I'm talking about how you started out without any guidance. And I'm looking at myself, and I'm looking at where we are right now, and I'm looking at this very conversation, this very podcast, and I'm seeing how far we've come, and what I've been able to gather along the way. Because this is like a big breaking point for me in management, for me in business, for me professionally, if I may say, because journeying through this whole process of having to sit down every Thursday to interact with experts all over the world from different industry. Can imagine hearing conversation in insurance, hearing conversation in business, in banking and finance, but you're still one person. But you're trying to understand how business works in different space, and it's very good to see your journey that you've actually been able to create that impact and being intentional. Not just that you say you want to make an impact and then it ends at just saying it, because we have most people who just say, "Well, I want to do this. I want to see how to make this change." But it just ends at them saying so. But you've also made that step to make it better and see how to improve your own world from your own space. And I'm happy you've been able to do that. So thank you very much for sharing that with us today. So in all of this conversation today, when I sent you an invite, I know I kind of asked what 5 things would you like us to learn when we have this conversation. So why did you decide to pick those 5 points which you had mentioned? Which those 5 points, one of them is team management and succession. You also talked about HR. You also talked about your significance process and change management. And what was the approach behind picking those 5 key points for us to share today?
I believe that every manager out there would agree with me that management is a process. It's a journey that you have to walk. And I summarize management or being a manager in an acronym of LEAD, where L stands for listening and learning, E for empowerment, A for acceptance, and D for difference, making a difference. So when I was speaking on team development and management, it's because there's no company that would start with the furnitures and assets without people. I take people as key element to any business or organization achievement and growth. So as a manager, you need to learn and listen. And this is because you're leading a team that also have their own background and they have their input that would be very useful for business growth. So it's not always the manager giving leads. You also give your team an opportunity to voice their ideas, and through that you empower your own management skills. About empowerment is making sure that your team gain and upgrade skills as you move along. You keep instilling the right skills, the right energy, the right motivation to make sure that people remain motivated and looking forward to achieving the goals and the milestones that have been set in a department, in an organization, in a group of companies, and you'll be able to be, you'll have less micromanagement aspect. The other item is acceptance. You have to accept that you're not always right. A normal human being will always have some elements where you need to be corrected, and giving leeway to the people around you, to your mentors, to your team, it empowers your management skills. It empowers you as a manager. And making a difference is making sure that, be it an employment or your own business, everyday purpose to wake up and make a difference in an individual, in the journey of business, in the stakeholders that you're dealing with in a given environment. You need to make a difference, and the difference should be positive in the way it is empowering you, it is building you as an individual, and it is building the other stakeholders that you're relating with every day. The other item I listed was succession planning. If you are a leader, you're an investor, you're a manager, if you're not planning for your successor, then you're planning to fail in the business. Nobody knows about tomorrow. And even the Bible tells us nobody knows about tomorrow. So succession planning is a key element in every organization, be it a sole proprietorship or a limited company or a government. That's why we even have assistance when it comes to presidents of of countries, so that you can be able to know that there will be going concern. In finance, there is some principle of accounting that we call going concern, is making sure that this business is going on beyond the owners, beyond the workers, beyond the stakeholders that are within it. So tomorrow, if something happens and you're not a manager, you need to ensure that the business is still continuing. If you're sick, the business will not stop and wait for you to come back. So planning as a manager for succession should be shouldn't be automatic. And I know there's so many people who see this as a job threat. You don't want to to mentor and to mold people to take over, or to be there, or to be able to grow, because you're scared or you're afraid of your job security. As a manager, you should always be ready to let go and let others come in your space, because you have woken up every day with a purpose to make a difference. So in a nutshell, for me, a manager, I would summarize this at lead, LEAD, because every day you have to lead the business, you have to lead people, and you have to take care of all the stakeholders that make up the organization that you're working for, or the business that you have set forth, and the customers that you're serving. So
Wow.
my passionate is mainly on building people and making sure that there is growth. I mentor people, and for the longest time, I monitor the aspect of growth, and I give people assignment. When I'm meeting you next time, I want to have seen you grow from this level to this level, and not only in management, even in your personal growth. If you have a diploma, I'll tell you in 2 years, I'm giving you a target. I want to see you in campus pursuing a degree on your line of your passion. So as a leader, all these things have to be incorporated for us to have productivity from our team, for us to give them the vision and to be able to give the clear objectivity, for us to get the right output that we're looking for, and for us to see a happy working team and people looking forward to come tomorrow to the office. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you very much, Gladys, for this very insight. You know, looking at your how you simplified your points in just 4 words. That is lead. Lead. Everybody talks about lead every time. Everybody talks about lead. Either lead, be a leader, but you've been able to simplify that statement to mean so many things. Talking about leading, empowerment, acceptance, and development. That's something that I think organizations should really look into to see how to better everyone they have around them. Most especially when you mention something as regards to succession. Let's dive a little bit to the succession plan aspect. So far, you've been able to follow up with the organizations you've managed and the ones you've also worked with. Have there been any time where succession was actually a limiting factor? Maybe because the founder was too good, he or she didn't actually want to have a replacement or something. How was that experience, and what happened to the business at that time?
I would say it's a very interesting discussion whenever I'm called upon to consult for an organization. And upon the many things that we discuss, I ask what is the strategy as far as the succession planning is concerned. And everybody looks at me with a lot of question marks, like, what do you mean? We are okay, we are doing well. But then I pose a question like, for example, I went to an organization, I'll give you the answer through an example. And the finance manager was on leave because he's blessed with twins, and both twins got sick and they had to be, admitted in the hospital. So the wife could not, go to the hospital ward with the two kids. So he had also to stay on in the hospital and assist. And when I walked into the office, everybody was stranded because they had been hit with heavy penalties by the revenue authority because a payment got delayed because this guy was not around. And the big question I posed to the regional manager is, what is your succession planning, strategy? And he said, I have never heard of such a thing. What is that? And I took them through the strategy on how we can be able to come up with a proper planning so that there is no position within the organization, especially at the management level, that should be left void. And this helps in actually putting to rest the minds of the investors or the business owners. And as I said, it requires a lot of devotion and a lot of understanding that the people we are preparing for that platform need to be trained. So even the leaders that are supposed to have their assistants who they are mentoring, they are preparing for succession, they need to be open-minded and ready to train, because you're taking a young professional and you want them to think, do, direct, organize, think strategically like a manager. So it requires work. So it is not something that will come automatically. You need to do it in a strategic manner, and you need to be prepared for it. And one thing that I tell my clients is that we need to come up with management trainee. So when you're getting the fresh graduates, get them with the mentality that I'm bringing them on board with the mentality that I am in preparation, that I'm going to absorb them to be able to help us drive the wheel of succession planning. And where the succession planning has been implemented effectively, they never feel the void. There is one client that was very negative about the succession planning, and we implemented it through the internship program. And today, that is one person that says this should have come earlier, 10 years earlier when I started the business, because they have seen growth, they have seen productivity, they have seen motivated team. The managers that were afraid they're going to lose their jobs, they feel empowered because the many things they had to juggle through, now they can delegate. They also learn skills of delegating, time management, team management, thinking strategically, because as a manager, when you're burdened with operation work, you never sit down to strategize. You'll always be running up and down helter-skelter, chasing the day-to-day work. You will never sit down, take account of what has been happening, and be able to strategize the way forward, do the short-term and the long-term goals, because you are juggling a lot of riding behind you. You have time to think. They also challenge you. These kids coming from the graduate level, they also have their own thinking and their own style of executing things. So they will be challenging you. We have a lot of development in technology. Some of these things people are not privileged with, that are ahead of us. So when you have young blood in the system and they can be able to come and challenge the status quo, it brings growth to you. Every day you meet someone young, older, you have something to learn. And that has made a succession planning a must-have strategy in every organization.
Okay, so I want to ask, from all you've shared about succession planning, which is an amazing concept to think of. Does it mean that succession planning is only for maybe big organizations, or because from what you're saying right now, and it looks like that's on its own, it's a budget that brands should actually be looking at. Okay, Okay, for example, now with the manager, we should be making plans to have a manager trainee where I'll have to start maybe walking the person through how we've been doing what we're doing and what we are doing and all of those things. And on its own, it's something very amazing. Even while I'm listening to you right now, it's a very very amazing what do you call it, plan or strategy to implement. But at this point, will you say it's only for maybe the big brands, or what would you say the smaller brands should be doing to also guide them through that?
Um, I would say something very controversial. Even at home, you need to have succession planning,
Of course.
because, as I said, nobody knows about tomorrow. Even that shopkeeper, you should always, if you have a family member who can learn how to do the business, you need to train them. I know where the succession planning brings a problem, especially for the small entities. It's because you have limited resources, you're feeling like you don't have enough security, and maybe this space might be misused. But I always say, even if you have a small business, put in structures. We have now technology that is even helping us to implement automation in a shop setup, a shopkeeper, a small shop, a small clothing shop, a small office, a small photocopy shop. So if you implement the right systems of monitoring your business, you will not be afraid to take that business in the hands of somebody else. So succession planning is for all levels of business, small startups, SMEs, and established organization. But it is, as I said, it requires time. You have to dedicate your time. It requires you to be ready to hand over that business that you hold dear, because nobody starts a business to fail, and
Of course.
nobody starts a business for somebody else to take advantage. So you need to be prepared for it. You need to be aware of it. And based on the nature of your business, you need to plan accordingly on how the succession planning is going to work for you. So it requires, that's why we are here as consultants, because if you're stuck, you have 3 employees, or you're on your own, and you want to know tomorrow if I have to go for my stocks in China or Dubai or in the US, you don't have to close the shop. You need to leave somebody to continue selling the stock that is there. So
Yeah.
that is what I'm saying. When you start the business, think of the going concern, think of the business continuing beyond you. And that is where the structure starts. You need to set now the systems. If you're worried that somebody will come and start messing up with your stocks, there's POS systems that we have that are very affordable. And you can be able to put controls whereby you can monitor your stocks, you can monitor your cash flow, you can monitor the cash in and cash out effectively without a lot of stress. And you'll have your business running whether you are present or you're not. And you'll be able to tell with the technology. As long as you have a smartphone these days, you can monitor your business wherever you are. So it's for everybody who is running a business across the board.
Uh, Thank you for going in depth into that. While you were sharing your point, one of these there's an audio series I listened to from Anthony Robbins here, and he mentioned that if you have a business, you run a business, and for you to be absent from that business for a week maybe will cause a damage in that business. It means you're having a high paid job. And yeah,
Yeah.
because it aligns very well, because yes, like what you said, it's very important that at sometimes when you're out, you know that okay, you're out. If this thing needs to happen on Monday, you know that okay, you can trust your team members to be able to deliver, and that will make any business who's looking to
Yeah.
go long term or to go big will continue to go big. All right, so from all you shared,
Yeah.
Which has been a very amazing, which has been a very very amazing insight which you've thrown to us. Now let's talk a little bit about yourself. Let's talk about Gladys. Let's talk about how you became, or how you got to where you are with all of these things you have. I know you probably have your family with you. How have you been able to cope up with all of this journey with family, career, moving on with everything and still having businesses which you run? how did you walk through this whole journey from when you started to where you are right now?
Thank you so much. It's a long journey. I think it will take today and tomorrow, but I'll try to shorten it. I didn't start as a manager. I started as an accounts clerk. For the sake of the viewers and listeners, I hold two professions, that is accounting profession and human resource. So I started my career as an accountant, and I got an opportunity to join a very busy organization that I pride my experience in accounting up today as an accounts clerk. And I tell people, all the young people that I meet, that you should never, be ashamed of the humble beginning. I was being paid a whole month, $5. It was too little. I was the only employee who was being paid cash, like in an envelope. Well, everybody else would
Why?
receive their salary through the bank transfer. So
Why were you paid in cash?
because it was too little to be put in the bank, I suppose. Those days, the banks would only recognize the big money holders.
Of
So
course. Okay.
it was that little. So anyway, I started as an account clerk, and I did the job passionately. I remember I used to work 12 hours in a day. I would wake up in the morning at 7, I'm seated in the office. I would sit until 6 in the evening. And that is the time in Kenya there was introduction of automation of business processes. So most of the companies were now piloting from the manual way of doing accounting into the automation, into the accounting software. And this organization had branches across the nation, across Kenya. And there were so many, there was so many, so many people that needed to the automation. That time, every organization was using a consultant because we didn't have enough expertise to just hire, like a company hiring an expertise to work in a single organization. So
Okay.
majorly people would pick data entry guys from,
Oh, okay.
from all over, and you'll be tasked to input data into those software, accounting software, and
Wow.
then the consultants will come later and verify everything is okay, run the statement of accounts, and that's how it was being run. So we would sit, because you have a target of inputting like a dozen of files the whole day, and you can't go home before you do it. But I tell my young people, because I call them my young people, when you're putting that paper, you're leading that, putting that data, don't just pick the numbers and read what that is. That helped me build my accounting experience to today, because I was curious to know, what is this bank statement? What does it mean to do a bank reconciliation? What is it about the invoices? What is this inventory control? I got a lot of curiosity from that point, and that built my career in accounting. 3 years down the line, I hopped into another organization where I was tasked to do a lot of administration work uh, on top of my accounting assistant work. So I got a promotion from accounts clerk to account assistant. I was very excited. And my salary moved from $5 to around 15. I remember carrying my
And you started receiving your salary in the bank.
I remember carrying my contract for a whole month to show everybody that I've gotten a raise. I was so excited. Anyway,
Yeah.
I think at that age, money was not really the issue. My
Okay.
hunger and my thirst was to get the experience. So this is the company now. My second company where I worked is where the passion of human resource grew. I was given so much task, on top of my accounting assistant work, and it demanded that I deal with people from various countries in Africa, coordinating, making sure that they are sorted, everything is working and in harmony. And the passion for dealing with people, sorting people issues was born. And I went back to school. I did my bachelor's in human resource, and I also did my master's. And I never looked back from that time on. From this company, the next job I got was a human resource manager, and I really thank God that I pushed through, because I didn't have anybody to tell me what is the right thing to do. You have to, do your research, and still people expect answers and correct answers from you. And from that point, I vowed that I will mentor people until there is nobody else to mentor, because I don't want anybody to go through the murky road that I used to find my way. I want people to find answers. I want people to find support. I want young professionals to be happy doing what they are doing, because they know there is a reference. There's someone who can hold their hand. There is tough love. I call it tough love, because I will not spoon feed you, but I will make sure that you learn the right way, and you get to know what is the right thing to do. And this gave birth to a very passionate training that I do, that is first time managers. If you're a first time manager or you're a first time investor, I am always ready to guide you. With or without money, I will guide you through how to maneuver through the management, how to do delegation of tasks. Many people who have moved from a lower position of execution to the management, one thing that we have struggled with, myself included, is how to delegate work, because you always have the mentality that it is you who has to do. You have to execute. So that is an aspect that majority of the professionals who have risen from an execution level to a management level struggle with. So you need to understand and to master the skills of delegation, time management, decision making, strategic thinking, effective communication. People think communication is the way I'm communicating today, but it has to be intentional, effective communication. If you're not a good listener, you're not an effective communicator. If you don't give other people chance to air their views, you're not an effective communicator. If you're always having conflict within your department as a manager, I want you to know today, check your communication skills. It could be the issue. It could be the disconnect between you and the team that you're leading. So we have to be intentional as managers to have to lead a team that is happy, that is motivated, and we are able to lead by example. So that is the point where my first time managers training was born, because I vowed that I don't want people to go through what I went through. I pride myself, through maneuvering and through researching, you get to learn a lot. It's also an
Of course.
advantage. But on
Yeah.
the other side, it's a pain point, because you are learning at the same time people are expecting results. And sometimes you might not be able to hit the target. You might miss many things, but it has been a journey that was exciting.
Wow.
So I worked as an employee, and then time came when I needed to be on my own. And this also came by a lot of consultation from people when I was also in employment. And I registered the company, that is Right Resource Kenya Limited. I started it when I was still an employee, so I was doing it part time. And it became heavy because the demand grew and grew. And the reason why demand grew is because we are living in tough economic times. I don't know about Nigeria, but in Kenya, it's a bit tough. So there are some, department, if they're not within your core business, the best thing is to outsource. So for the many organizations, the HR docket might not be the core, activity of the business.
Yeah.
So, or an accountant. So the best thing is to outsource and only get the services when you need them. And I've seen it work. Majority of our customers today are the startups, those companies that are scaling up or established, that they found out that we don't need a full-time HR. I'm not saying that it don't do HR, course. I'm just saying there is a lot of work out there, but not everybody needs a HR 8 to 5, Monday to Friday, 1st to 31st. There are organizations that can be able to survive with a visit once in a week, and you can be able to sort. So that is how the role of HR consultant in me was born. And here we are from 2018, running, Right Resource Kenya Limited and also Orbit Line. They are both human resource dockets, but executing different functions. Because at Orbit Line, I deal with people, but on a different setting of events. And also on this side, that's the side I deal with people on a corporate setup.
Okay.
So that's how I got here I am. It has been
Yeah.
a journey.
Yeah, before we get to your businesses which you've been able to establish, which is an amazing thing to also see and to understand that through the hurdles, you finally been able to make it there. Because personally, I can imagine myself transitioning from. I actually did agric in school, animal science, and all of a sudden I'm doing tech. I kind of was doing UI UX design then, and it was whenever you get to introduce yourself, every you hear computer science, computer engineering, computer this, and you feel very odd, very different from another person. So, but
Yeah.
going in looking at your journey, talking about you going back to school to to study HR, what was that drive? What really prompted you to make that decision? That that was the big take. That was like, however the case may be, I need to make this decision and I need to do it. I need to go back to school and further this very. Why didn't you just proceed with the success you're already having in accounting?
Thank you for that question. I think majority of my age mates, we went to college and did what our parents wanted us to do. And I meet so many people who tell me like they come for advice and say, I want to switch career. Is it the right thing? I will never say yes or no, because it has to come within you. And if you want to change career, you have to be ready for it.
Of
For
course.
me, when I found my strength in dealing with people or people's skills, and I wanted to get into the space of human resource, there is one thing that I acknowledged in me, that I need to empower myself. And that's where the E in the lead comes from. You have to empower yourself. How do you empower yourself? Personal development. I would never have become a manager in another organization as a human resource manager without having equipped myself and empowered myself skill wise. So I needed to go back to school and acknowledge, yes, I have the accounting background, but this accounting background will not help me excel in human resource space. So if there is any young professional out there fighting within you to change career, at the end of the day, decision lies with you, the buck stops with you. But if you have to switch, it's not necessary to switch, but if you have to switch, you have to put in the work. You have to go back and equip yourself into that docket that you want to venture into. If you're in employment and you want to go back into the business, you also have to learn how to run a business. You also have to know the ups and downs of a business. You need to equip yourself into not having a salary every other day, because businesses just, they're just businesses. It's not every day you'll be recording profits. It's not every day you'll be going home happy. It is not every day that you will be going without fighting with someone. Not the physical fight, but maybe something has happened. You need to be prepared for it. How do you prepare? You need to equip yourself with knowledge of how to run a business, how to venture into this other career that I want to jump into, and you equip yourself. I tell professionals, be selfish. Equip yourself with a lot of knowledge, with a lot of skills that your work has to sell you, not the word of mouth. You have to execute your roles with a lot of passion, because you got what it takes. You have prepared yourself. The passion has driven you to acquire those papers, not just to submit when you're submitting your CV, but also to translate it in your execution and your output for whatever job that you have to be given, for whatever job that you have to execute. It has to ride on the results. So my passion for human resource pushed me to go back and do my bachelor's and do my master's, because I knew I didn't want to stop at the manager level. I wanted to grow and grow to the levels until there is no other space for me to grow into. I want to sit in board membership, as a board member in companies, big companies across Africa, advising on human resource matters. I can't do that if I don't empower myself. I can't do that if I don't have mentors who are around me, who can tell me that, hey, this one, you're going wrong. And, with that tough love of telling you the truth, the things you don't want to hear. And these are meant to make you more better and more polished and more ready for tougher roles. I say that if you can't take care of small responsibilities, God will not give you bigger responsibilities. So the small responsibility we have is to empower ourselves, because it is only you as an individual who can limit yourself, not anybody else. And where you want to move into the management, into leadership, into executive, the limitation is with you, not with your family or your partner or your colleagues. It is with you, and you have to make sure that you empower yourself, you do the right thing, you do the work, and the positions, the promotions, and all the opportunities will look for you.
Okay. Thank you very much for sharing that, and that is very inspiring. And I'm hoping that as much people who are listening to this and who will continue to who will listen to this much later, will be able to tap into your rich journey, because having to understand that it's not about it. It's not, majorly not about everybody. First, it's about you, because if you're not good, no one wants to do business with you. No one wants to listen to you,
Yeah.
and no one also wants to associate with you,
Yeah.
because you're just going to be seen as a mediocre person. But first of all, equip yourself with those tools, those strategies, those plans, and get ready for war. Because up ahead, the journey is always very, very interesting. You have to always come in contact with different struggles, different challenges, different experience,
Yeah.
different things that will question you and ask you if you're really sure this is really what you want to do, or you are just making fun of yourself and all of that. But I want us to look a little bit into you. For let's say you being a woman, there's actually no problem with that. But how do you balance all of this with your professional career and your family? How do you get to move with all of this process? Because I see you've done quite an amazing job so far for the past 15 years and still counting, and even looking at where you're heading to. Because definitely soon, I'm sure you'll be in one of those top organizational boards. Speaking about HR.
That's a tough one. I'm a mother of three beautiful girls, and I would say it's not easy. We want all the time to cover up and say, I got everything all together figured out. It's not easy, but it all boils down to planning your activities. I thank God that I have supportive family. I have a supportive, house manager who will take care of the kids. But I also have to be there. I'm a mother, and nobody can never, as we talk of succession planning, nobody can never take my place. I can
Yeah,
only
sure,
prepare for somebody to deputize, but I
of
have
course.
to do my main role as a mother. I would say it also calls for discipline. When you have to have the discipline to know it's time for work, it's time for family, it's time for to do other things, then you are able to give priority to each and every item. um, at times there is conflict because the work is too demanding, and the other side, the family is also calling for you. But I would say it boils down to discipline and also focus. If you know what you're chasing, if you know what you're looking forward to, if you know you have work to execute, and you have deadlines to meet, you have clients that are reliant on you, you have employees that are waiting to be paid, then you have to make sure that you put it's like a shelf. You have to partition it and put everything it's in its own space, and make sure that the balancing sometimes does not balance, but you try your best. I would say, like, we have learned how to maneuver. Being a career woman, it starts at the level when you're in school. You also have to juggle so much. I did my master's when I was a mother, so it was not very easy. But
Wow.
through it all, I passed my exams. My family is okay. I'm able to cook. I'm able to go to the office and support my team. It requires a lot of discipline at the back of your mind. You have a responsibility. When you are recognized you have a responsibility, you are able to stay focused, and you are able to partition your cabinet and be able
Yeah.
to know that there's time for everything, and you
Wow.
have to satisfy every quarter, because I don't want to be called a successful businesswoman and I'm failing at home. I don't want that to happen. So For that reason, you don't want to be called a failed mother and a successful, businesswoman. So you have to be disciplined, you have to focus, and you have to know that there is time for everything. And that focus helps you a lot.
Um, you know, it's amazing first that you were able to say it's not easy. The journey is not easy because yes, maybe if you said, oh, you came out strong and then you did it all, I'll probably have to look again and ask, please, can you give me those cheat sheets? Let me do copy and paste. Let me see if I could do some copy and paste
Yeah,
because I understand that it's actually not easy trying to toggle up with
yeah.
family, trying to balance up everything and still staying put. And a question actually came from the audience while you were sharing your personal experience. Please, for the benefit of those listening to this very conversation today, if you have any question and you probably don't feel okay, put sharing it in the comments. Please feel free to send it to my DM. My DM is wide open. I'm open to respond to all of those questions, and I'll share it here with our guest, so that she can, impact us with very wonderful conversation today. So, the question goes that what advice would you give to aspiring HR professionals, especially women in Africa? I know you've talked about your journey. I know you've talked about how you can navigate your way. But if you have to put that in maybe in 3 points or in 5 points, what are those advice you'd say anyone who's going through that journey in HR should do, but especially women in Africa?
The first thing I would want to say, not really focused on the human resource only, it's for every professional. It requires focus for you to be able to excel in any profession that you want to venture into. The second thing I would want to tell the young HR or upcoming professional is that um, these are not the times that everybody thought of HR of hiring and firing. You have to bring something on the table. We are all gearing up to get to the space whereby we can be involved in decision making, we can be voiced, or your work can be traced into the journey of success of the business. So you have to equip yourself to be able to voice through HR matters that will help the executives and the investors and the business owners grow the business. You need to put each and every function of a human resource in terms of growing business. So whatever decision you make, whatever matrix you're using, can you translate that into building the business, into productivity, into making the business blossom, into making the executive make the right decisions when it comes to business? So you have to equip yourself with the right tools. Don't sit and wait to be told we need to hire or we need to fire. You need to have what it takes to build and to help and to be part and parcel of the journey of business growth. And this can only be possible if you have good interaction and relationship with the rest of the departments within the organization. So you need also to make it your business to understand what procurement is all about and what are they doing, what the accounting is all about, what are they doing, the marketing, the PR, and all other departments within the organization. It is only after understanding that this business takes this much magnitude for the revenue to come through, you will be able to contribute on the decision table. I once worked for a renewable company as a HR manager, and there is a call that came through to my office, and I picked, and it was a customer. I served that customer. I explained the product, how many watts the panel was, what was in the kit, what was the hours of running of the solar. And at the end of the call, the customer asked me, and you said you're a HR? Are you not a salesperson? I said, no, I'm not a HR. I'm not a salesperson. I'm a HR. Why? Because I made it my business to understand the product, to understand each and every docket within the business, to understand the process of importation of those products, so that if tomorrow I'm left in the office, we cannot close or we cannot fail to serve a customer because the salespeople are not there or the technician is not there. So for you to grow, for you to make it in the spaces of managerial and leadership within an organization, as a HR professional, don't sit in your office and say, I'm only dealing with matters of leaves, management, salaries, and all that functions of the HR. Make it a business, your business, to understand each and every department perfectly, so that even if there is nobody to do onboarding when you hire that new employee, you can take them through what the business does and what the department does and what is expected of them. That is what will make you grow.
Wow. Okay, please for the aspiring HR professionals who will be doing amazing thing in the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years. At least I'm happy that someday we'll have people who would say, "Oh, I listened to my conversation with Gladys Njoroge on an Hour with the Manager podcast, and I was inspired by her journey, and then it became meaningful for my life personally as a woman, as a man." So this conversation is not only directed to the females or to the women out there, to everyone who's aspiring to get into that journey. Whenever you set out to do a particular thing, do it well so that you can be proud of, first you can be proud of what you're doing, and you can be proud of the journey, and you know that at every point in time you will be the hot cake. Let me use that word. Yeah, because from listening to Gladys, it looks like at a time she has always been a hot cake in every field that she gets into, and that's why that has given her the motivation and the drive to continue to excel. Imagine you being a HR person talking about customer experience, talking about sales, talking about accounting. You understand? I've been asked a couple of those questions when it's like a brand I what do you call it, partner with, an e-commerce brand, where we have to take on cold calls. Maybe we have strategic weeks when we have to take on calls, and I'm like, when I'm done making those calls, and the team that are with me will be like, "Wait, are you not supposed to just be managing and overseeing what we're doing here?" And I'm like, "Yes, I know. But if you guys don't do the job well, how would I just sit down and fold my hands and watch you guys do what shouldn't be? How do you expect us to close sales? How do you expect us to close deals? How do you want our customers to still come back because of the call they had? Sometimes even when they call back and they're like, I want to speak with Matthew. No, please put Matthew on the phone. You understand? So it's so good to hear about your journey and how you've been able to navigate that, and also for the aspiring professionals who will also contribute to that. So please let's talk a little bit about your business, about your brand, about Rights Resource Kenya Limited. So in 2018, yes, you went into this journey, but in starting, did you actually think of it as a you thing, or along the line you had to come up with a team and then you had a building strategy, business building strategy, the corporate structure, and then the business became unique, and today because looking from 2018 to date, that's been an amazing track record and an amazing journey up to this very date.
I think everybody who has started a business does not start a business to close and does not start a business to fail. We all start businesses with a lot of excitement that we are going to excel and also to make it big in the whatever industry that you venture into. When I started Right Resource Kenya Limited, as I said, I was still an employee. So it was more of a part-time, setup for myself. And I remember when I used to come home after I saw everybody else and they go to sleep, that's when I would sit down and do the right resource work. So there are so many customers who thought I work for Right Resource full time because whatever assignment that was given to Right Resource was executed. But the funny thing is that they would get their emails at midnight, at 1 a.m., at 2 a.m., and they kept wondering, "Am I in Kenya or that? When do I sleep?" But requires a lot of sacrifice. The many times I've slept for 2 hours, 1 hour, are countless until I got where I am, because this is a baby. And I know the reason why God does not give us babies who are walking is because he wants us to respect life. So I believe even for the business, you have to start from that, the humble beginning of building it from zero on paper until you can see the empire standing. It's because you need to respect the steps. And as I said, nobody starts a business to fail. So you have to put in the work. Sleepless nights, you have to be ready to sacrifice. You have to be ready to get those no's from customers. sometimes I say, even if you're selling gold, there will always be somebody saying no to it because they have found something. There is a dent. They will look for something to say no. But those no's empower you. So if you're starting a business, there's no room for giving up. So I started Right Resource. We were two partners, and we journeyed through. And 2020, boom, COVID came. Uh, a very big setback for everybody. So the customers were affected because we rely on other businesses. We make non-core business for other businesses, our core business. I hope that makes sense. So if your business is not running as a restaurant, as a fintech, then we are not in business. And that was a very hard moment for us. And we had to close the office. So when things go south, don't give up. Yes, the physical office closed, but we continued working from home. And the journey was not easy, but I never gave up. One thing in me that I never give up. I always believe if you talk to my team today, they will tell you Gladys knows that there is a solution. I don't accept a no. I don't accept that this is not possible. I tell them there is a solution. We have to look for it. Uh, they come to me with a lot of difficulty. There is a difficulty here. There is a difficulty. I tell them, no, there is a solution. Because if you don't put the positive energy and positive vibe in your mind, you will always give up. You'll always feel like this is difficult. So today you will try Right Resource, it is not working. Tomorrow you will plant another Apple Limited, it will go down if you stick and focus. And I know my passion for human resource has made me journey through the rough road until where we are. So anybody who is out there, you want to start a business, just be ready. Wear your boots because there's that journey that the car will stop moving and you have to come out and push. There is those, rainy days that things will go well and you need to have to survive in all seasons. Business is a business when you can be able to survive in all seasons. You need to be ready. As we said earlier, prepare yourself. If you want to run a business, know how the business is run. Be ready for it. Be ready for those ups and downs. Be ready to be left by people whom you started with and they'll leave you with debts. You can't sit down and start crying. You have to think, start knowing how to pay the debts and how to survive through and how to turn that profit and loss account into pure profits. So there is no stopping. I started Right Resource with nothing. I didn't have capital. I didn't have money. But the good thing with the service, it's just your expertise. So you don't need to buy stocks. So
Okay.
with that, we are
So,
able to
so, so
manage
how,
the
how,
cost.
how did you, how did you get to, connect with clients to, to get on board? Even with you struggling with your current job then, and then balancing up with Right Resources.
I would say for consultancy, you have to have a strategy of building your network. And through my corporate journey as an employee, prepared me for the consultancy field because there are people who knew me as a person, as an accountant, and as a HR. And there are those that would come to me when they are starting their business wanting to know how do I solve ABCD? How do I go about a disciplinary process for an employee that is bothering me or poor performance? And through that, when I started the consultancy, because if I do it, I can't do it because the business where I was working was not for human resource services. We were in trading. So I could not bill in that company. I had to bill. And that is when actually I realized I need a company because because of the taxation and all that, they need to have a proper invoice. So it's through the corporate journey and people I was interacting with during my employment days that turned to be my customers. They gave me referrals, and most of them, including my former boss, is my customer until today. So I say, where you have been employed, do your job. Do it until if there is any fight, it is not about your work, it is not about your productivity, it's about something else. Wherever I have worked, I can go back and get my job. I have never fought with anybody because of my work, because I made sure I have to do my part. And that's why even those customers that I'm serving today, some of them were my employers those days. And they are happy to know that my business is safe with Gladys because I know her work, I know her dedication, and I know that the work will be done. So whatever you decide to do it passionately. If you're in employment, do it like it is your business. Because if you're praying for a business, it will not excel if you're messing somebody else's business. You need to take care of where God has placed you today so that you can take care of where you want to go tomorrow. You take care of my business today, God will bless you with your own business that you'll be able to run comfortably and get people who will also take care of it. So take care of that employment. Don't be a complainer. In my life, there is one principle I've learned, I've lived with. I don't complain. I say if you start complaining, leave. But you live with that negative energy of weighing yourself down, complaining about this manager, that manager, salary, environment. You become a complainer, and that is the enemy of progress. You will never progress as a professional. You never progress even in your own business. You'll even find something to complain about your own business. So from today, quit complaining, do the work, because I normally say if the other eyes cannot see, there's spring being that we believe in, and will bless that effort that you're making today and give you a bit bigger responsibility that will have more rewards that will satisfy you tomorrow.
Okay. Thank you very much for breaking that down. And while you were sharing your journey and your personal what do you call it, activities, a question came in from the audience, briefly please, because I think we've run into 5 minutes past our conversation. The question here is this: how do you stay updated on industry trends and best practices in HR? And what are some of those trends, tools that you've been able to use in right resources that you think is something that will be moved that will stay stay in business for a long time? Like we have AI, we have ChatGPT, and we'll have other technologies coming up. So what are some of those industry trends that you think will be and best practices and tools that you think will be prevalent in the HR space?
Technology is good and we should all embrace it, but I know there is some areas or functions of HR that can never be replaced by technology. So as we update ourselves with the digital world and also tech and on embracing the new ways of doing things, we also need to upgrade our skills. As I said, it requires personal development all through to be able to stay afloat in this environment. Um, Today we have ChatGPT, tomorrow we'll have something else. The same case, we were doing manual, the payroll, now we have softwares everywhere. And if you don't keep up with the pace, you will be left, because even those softwares that are coming on board for HR, they require input. And we have laws. I think HR is the only.
Is there any you've used personally that you think maybe each of these conditions you're talking about actually works for or applies for?
Yes, I've used the human resource softwares locally and also internationally.
Okay.
But what I was driving at is that they cannot replace a human behind the human resource docket fully, because
Okay.
at the end of the day, there is the input. Like for example, I'll just be brief. A disciplinary process, which is now guided by the law, requires physical people dealing with that situation. You have a show cause letter that you have issued to an employee. You cannot expect a machine to come and run through a disciplinary process. There's documentation. I don't know about in Nigeria, but in Kenya, you have to keep proper records of an employee. If it's a disciplinary issue, a fraud, or somebody has done something, you have to keep documenting as and when you do the meetings, when you summon the employees, until you can prove beyond reasonable doubt as an employer in the industrial court that you have done your part. The machines will not be able to do that.
That's a that's a good way to summarize. All right. Okay. So just to ask one last question that one last before we wrap this up. So, what is your vision for the future of HR in Africa and the world at large? Yeah, we know that people are kind of scared on if AI is going to take my job or if I'm not going to be available anymore. But what's your own vision? What do you think the future of HR and the world at large would actually look like? Is the software also going to replace the job? Because yeah, like you mentioned, there are limitations to what the technical tools can actually do. But in a way, if you still look at it, these tools are still there to simplify work process. That is why they call them. That's why it's technology. You understand, to make work faster and easier. So, what do you think is that future plans? And you personally, from what you're doing, well, how are you also making your plans to navigate the future moving forward? Because technology, AI is going wild.
Thank you for that question. Actually, I've been working on a human resource software that will be owned and managed by Right Resource Kenya Limited,
Wow.
and we have interacted with many softwares, and our focus and our aim is to try and navigate as much as possible, especially for the startups and SMEs, because I see them struggling. There are people who are in court today not because they couldn't have avoided, but it's because they didn't have the proper structures and the proper ways of solving issues with their employees. So we are building a tool that will be able to help you as a business person run it and be able to be equipped. It has a training tool in it, so you don't need me to come and interpret for you some of the functions. You can reference and be able to understand that I can do this in a such scenario and I'll not be landing in the wrong side of the law. My vision for the human resource profession, I want to see as many human resource CEOs as possible, because we know how to take care of people and we know how to take care of business. Of course, for those that are armed to take care of the business. Again, you can't be a CEO and you don't know how the other departments run. So I would want to see so many HRs running as CEOs, sitting in the with other board members to help voice the safety and the well-being of the employees. And technology is here with us. We will embrace it. But as I said, we need a human factor behind the human resource. And I know it's a debatable aspect. If a tech was hearing me, he's saying this, they will try to prove me wrong. But I have been in the profession, and I know that we will still need a human factor behind it. Maybe not full time, but to some extent, you will need a human resource factor, because even the ATS we are using for recruitment, it kicks people unfairly, and the way of shortlisting sometimes is not fair. I would say that without any doubt in my mind. Thank you.
Why? Well, I'm going to ask that question because I would like to understand why. But I think you have a fan here in the comment section. Caleb Simiyu, maybe you might be familiar. He said, "Best HR I've worked with." Thank you, Caleb, for tuning. Dr. Masia, thank you for tuning into our podcast. Wana Akpabio, Eva, thank you very much for tuning into our very conversation today. I appreciate that. So, why now back to close up. So, why do you think that biased nature is actually prevalent in terms of employment? Because these days I'm not really sure employees actually know what they want. Most times, if or recently, I think it's becoming a trend. You have employees actually demanding more from the business but expecting to do less in return and expecting more pay for that job. You understand? So how do you think in your own space as a HR person you've been able to navigate this, and what do you think is going to be the future of employment moving forward?
So I think it should start from the point of understanding uh, the team formation stages. We have the forming, we have the storming and norming. I think those who went through a degree must have interacted with that. So if you have done the right, you have gone through the process of onboarding the right way, from right from the talent search to the talent management bit, then you will be able to work with a happy team. The reason why you're seeing people demanding more of their work and they're not able to give the same productivity, it's also, as employers, we also have our duty to play, and we need to equip and to train our employees and communicate effectively our expectation. I've seen people rush through the recruitment phase because maybe there is an urgent position that you need to fill. And again, there is no succession. So somebody just left and there is a void in the organization and you're in a hurry. And the next thing, boom, you're given a laptop, sit down, do the work. So there is no onboarding process that prepares this new employee into your expectation and you understand their expectation. So the productivity phase boils down to our onboarding. How did we source? How did we onboard our team? How did we prepare them to come sit down and start executing the roles that we are entrusting them with? And also, employers should stop seeing training as a liability. Invest in your employees, train them. Don't get tired of repeating and repeating and repeating until they get it right. Because in Kenya, I don't know about Nigeria, the law is against termination of any employee on poor performance. You have to prove beyond reasonable doubt that you, as an employer, you've done your duty and you have trained and provided the resources to empower the employee to execute their roles and to be productive. So the aspect of the expectations versus the output, it is responsibility on both sides, the employee and the employer. We have to work as a team and we need to understand each other because we both have expectations and those expectations have to be met and we have to be intentional about that.
Wow. Thank you very much for sharing that, and I'm sure we'll have a lot of people who will also get themselves ready because the future of work. For me, at first, I would say maybe I don't know if I would say God will actually help us because the rate at which employees are actually demanding more and hoping to do less with less skill, it's very alarming. But still,
Yeah.
It's also a thing to also be patient for to walk people through that learning process. It's actually a beautiful thing to be intentional because if you actually see someone who's ready to learn, even if the person don't really know much about that job, but the person is willing to learn, then because you're willing to learn, it will be easy for you to grab and pick up in no time. But when you
Yeah.
have someone who's just there just for the pay, who's just there because I just want to make ends meet, yes, it's good, go there for the money. But if you're there because you just want to get that money, you might not be able to stay for long in that organization. So while you're trying to, make quick cash to just get the job done and all of that, like you've heard from Gladys today, make sure to stay put. Make sure to go back again and do it because you want to be good at it. Don't just do it because of the money. Don't just do it because you want to just maybe let your friends know that you have a job, you have an employment, or don't go into HR because you want to impress anybody. Make that decision for
Yeah.
yourself. Whatever career journey you want to face, you want to follow through. Sit back again, ask yourself if truly that journey is really what you want to go into. Because in every career, in every journey, in every business, every profession, there are downtime, there are happy moments. I have my own downtime.